Hey everyone, it's Will.
Wes.
We are here to give you the Kinetic Chaos Podcast number 27 live the entire time. We hope you guys enjoy it. We had a little bit of technical difficulty. Some folks tried to log on a little bit earlier. Apologize for that. I did not throw my phone out into the fairway. We're all thankful for that. Me most, but and now I'm going to do the most fun, and I'm watching us as you're talking. Yeah, it's weird. Anyway, so we're going to do a sound check real quick, and then we'll get right to it. First thing, though, I want to apologize that we didn't drop the episode today. Had some, technical difficulties at home with whatnot, so apologize for that. Also, we didn't have Kinetic Kids jump off. Derek is actually away at camp, so for a week long, and I'll get into that in the podcast. So anyway, we're going to do our sound check now, and then we'll get going as I watch this here. And make sure if you're watching, try to hit us up on here. I'm going to keep Wes and I'll keep an eye on the screen. See if you want to say hi. We'll give you a shout out, and hope you guys enjoy. Okay, you ready?
Yes, let's do it.
3. How now, brown cow? This is Will and Wes. How we doing tonight, bub?
Loverly.
Loverly. Me too.
All right.
Pretty dang nice. We're gonna have a nice sunburn on the top of your
raccoon?
melon.
You got the
no,
raccoon
not
eyes?
right there, right on top of your head. You're
up here.
Peel profusely.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Good times. Okay. How now, brown cow? This is Will and Wes. How we doing tonight?
Loverly.
What's up, Jen? How you doing?
All right.
Pretty dang nice. We're gonna have a nice sunburn on the top.
Raccoon. You got the raccoon eyes?
Right there, right on top of your head.
Oh, up here. I don't feel warm. Not yet.
Wes says he doesn't feel warm yet.
Not yet. Oh yeah, I kind of do. I can. Yeah.
Trust me, you will.
It'll leave a mark.
It'll leave a mark. Hopefully everyone had a wonderful Tuesday out there in the good land, and just getting everything reset here after the sound check so that we can get started.
Jump off.
Jump
Oh.
onto a new broadcast.
There we go.
We do have the bucket here, and I even have some dollars.
Ooh.
Wes is going to be dancing
Crisp
for him
dollar
later.
bills.
Hey, bow chicka bow wow. Olga. What's up, Olga? Okay, we're almost ready, I promise. It's a good thing you guys didn't join us earlier, because there was a few choice words flying around. I even had my phone in the freezer at one point because we had some heat issues. And now, I wish we could show you, but we've concocted another wonderful set piece for us. Am I right, Wes? We have a piece of cardboard back behind the phone, or the broadcasting equipment. That's what we've got to call it.
That's right.
And then we also have a giant pop-up to make sure that we don't sweat all of our sweat out, and you guys have to see that on TVs. We don't want that. What else we got on there? Yeah, he does need sunscreen. Lots and lots of sunscreen.
Is that my
I actually
wife?
kind of dig this. No, it's Jen Kane. Because I can see what you guys are talking. Olga, thanks. I know I'm not cold today either, Olga, thankfully.
It's got shorts on.
I do have shorts on. I'm even rocking the fresh toes. Okie dokie. Here we go. No, Jen, we're not adjusting everything so Wes's poor little melon doesn't get
I'm in
burned.
the shade now. I'm good. The sun's behind the canopy. We're good to go.
Okie, got everything quiet.
Oh, your dollar bills are gonna blow
Oh,
up.
no! Woo!
Oh, on the golf course.
I could turn around for the camera and shake it, but I won't, because I'm a nice guy. Should I just put these in here now?
We know it's going to
Go
happen.
ahead. Yep.
So, yeah.
Preemptive.
Yeah.
Hey, yay. Okay. I don't know why that's open. Come on. Where are we going? Okay. Okay. Quick drink of water. Shout out to everyone out there. Okay, here we go. Ready?
Absolutely.
Okay. Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. This is Will joining you from the fairway. Oh, kill it. Sorry,
Wow.
you guys got to see it. We have one rule. If I totally foul up the open within 30 seconds, I kill the recording and restart it. After 30 seconds, you guys just have to deal with it.
We aborted the takeoff.
Yeah.
Try it again here.
We don't want anything bad to happen to anyone, so I apologize for for that, but we'll be back in just a second. Ein Moment bitte. Sprechen Sie Deutsch? One thing here. Okay, now take it back to the old school. There we go. I have to set the ambiance for us so that Wes and I can really get in the mood to broadcast.
Oh, easy.
Wee-oo. Okay, let's try it again.
All
Okay,
right.
here we go. 3. Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. This is the Kinetic Chaos Podcast number 27. I am Will, joined as always by my good friend Wes.
Howdy.
Howdy doody. We having a good time tonight?
Absolutely. In the shade now. So
In the
feeling better.
shade. We've got it made in the shade?
Made in the shade. No need for sunglasses anymore.
No,
for me.
well, I always
You're
have to
still
have
keeping it real.
Yeah, I
know.
got to keep it real. It's for the little people.
Yep.
Well, we are. This is our very first podcast that we are. Is what we call it a simulcast.
Ooh, nice.
Nice.
Yes, it is.
We
It
are
is indeed.
simulcasting as we speak. We are on Facebook Live, and we are recording. So we're giving everyone. We didn't think we were going to do this to begin with, where we broadcast first and then release the recording the second day. But frankly, Wes and I had so much damn fun last week that we decided, what the heck, why not
Yeah,
do it?
let's do
so this is where we are. We are on the 18th fairway at the secret underground bunker. We just had, well, now actually we have a golfer up ahead of us having a discussion across the fence with the neighbor. So I don't know what he's had. We've had pretty good action so far.
Yeah.
Though. Really good
A
action.
lot of tree strikes.
We've had quite a few tree strikes. Wes has, I believe, ducked once.
Yeah, I got a little nervous. There was a close call.
Yeah, it was very close. There's a
Man,
lot
a
of
few feet on the
melon
other
to
side of the
hit over
fence.
there.
Yeah.
So
Large target.
large target.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're safe from that. Shout out Kelly. Thanks for joining us. Anyway, well, as always, something good that happened to us. I think we've had quite a bit of stuff that's good since the last recording. Am I right?
Yeah.
At least for me. But you go ahead and start us off.
All right. Nice, good one for me is that my daughter graduated preschool.
Woo!
Officially. She's done with preschool, and
Go ahead. No, I'm
on
sorry.
comes kindergarten in the fall.
That's exactly right. We both had graduates last week.
There you go. That's right.
One a little further ahead than the other one,
Yep.
but no, that's awesome. So, and you got her all signed up, am I right?
Yep. She's all dialed in, ready to go.
And which school will she be attending?
Columbia River Gorge.
The new one. Yeah,
The
we
new
talked
one.
about that a
Yep.
couple weeks ago. How it's a 3-story
3 stories, and
monstrosity.
it's giant.
Yeah, that was that's pretty awesome. So, well, that will be fun for you. Get her in there and get her. I don't know, washugled.
Yeah.
Is that what we call it? What happened
We'll
to you?
see.
I got washugled.
Yeah. See what happens
Yeah,
there.
exactly. Well, good thing that happened to me. I got to say, go back to Saturday and talk about our very first live recording of a food review. That
Yeah.
was an absolute kick in the pants. Wes and my dad, Pat, and Derek went down to Matt's Barbecue on the corner of Mississippi and Skidmore and tried to eat all the meat. Unfortunately, we were not able to do that, but we gave it a hell of a go, though. Am I right?
Yeah, we did.
Well, it was, and Matt was awesome. Got
Yeah.
a chance to talk with him, and boy, howdy. If you guys get a chance to get down there, he's relatively well priced, I've got to say. I mean, we got the total shebang, excuse me.
Yeah.
And that was pulled pork, brisket, pork belly, 3 ribs, all the sides except for mac and cheese.
No, mac and cheese.
Oh,
was there.
no,
you just
no
couldn't eat it.
queso. No, yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't have the queso, and then I know there were a few other. It had some pickled stuff in there.
Yeah.
It was awesome. We also went with the special that day, which was the Look at West. You can see
man,
for people
that's
that are
going
watching.
on my smoker at home. I cannot wait. That was so good.
Yeah, it was a kick in the pants. Hey, Amy, how are you? Thanks for watching. Anyway, so it was just unbelievable. But we had a really good time, and you'll be seeing a lot more of that kind of stuff. We had a lot of fun doing that. Derek was our cameraman. Please forgive him. He is 12 years old, not the world's greatest cameraman, but he's getting there. So he'll continue to get better with those skills as time progresses. Well, it's time to see a good news story, or read a good news story, and this is a good news story we actually haven't heard much about. And why is that, Wes?
Because it doesn't fit the old narrative like we've talked about 8 million times before. This would be just north of where we are, about an hour and a half north of where we record. This is up in Tumwater, Washington. A guy, an assailant, attacked, I think he shot somebody off-site at like an apartment complex, then went to a nearby Walmart and started firing in the Walmart, shot a couple people. Luckily, nobody was killed, and no innocents were killed. He then goes out to the car. No, I'm sorry. Let me back up. I screwed that up. He carjacked a car to get to the Walmart. He goes in, starts shooting. He comes back out, tries to carjack a different car. And in the process of him carjacking the other car, a concealed weapon holder pulled his gun and shot and killed the guy.
That is exactly what we like to hear.
That's how it's supposed to be done.
That's the perfect example of anyone that is a conscientious gun owner that carries it with them. That is how it is supposed to be done. And we're incredibly thankful. Do we have the gentleman's name?
No,
okay.
Do not.
Don't know his name, but either way, we just want to say thank you so much for that, because that is exactly what it's supposed to be. We don't know that a person has a gun, but they are there in a time of need. Yeah. And so we had a happy ending with all this. Everyone that needed to be going home safe was able to do so. So very excited about that. We have a whole ton of things. In fact, today Wes and I were going over the show, and it just more stuff and more things started rolling out. So let's get right into the hot sheet. Number one, we're going to withdraw from the UN Human Rights Council. And I know as a headline that sounds really, really crazy and all this, but this isn't our first time down this road pulling out of the Human Rights Council, am I right?
That's right. And it is now official. This afternoon, Nikki Haley announced that it's a done deal. So this has been going on for a while. Back in George W. Bush's days, we weren't a part of this council because of the inherent anti-Israel bias and a lot of bias towards Westerners in general. And then when Obama became president, he wanted to get us back into it. So we were back sitting on the Human Rights Council, and now we're back off again. And it's basically said, Nikki Haley said, and it's true, that there's no credibility to this council at all, because if you look at the players on this council, and keep in mind this is the Human Rights Council, the countries that sit on this Human Rights Council are Cuba, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, China, Iraq, Burundi, Bangladesh, and a couple others. So those aren't the hallmark of good human rights records in those countries. So the fact that they make up the Human Rights Council shows you what a joke it really is.
What a kangaroo court
Absolutely.
It really is. That's if there is anything remotely close to the fox watching the hen house, I mean, when you start with, did you say Iran?
No, Iraq.
Yeah,
Iraq. Cuba, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia are on there. Yep.
Yeah, but Cuba. I think you could probably call some women in Saudi Arabia and talk to them about human rights and their complete lack of them.
Yep.
I mean, I think they just had a woman get a driver's license or something.
It's
just
their
a
new
few
thing.
months ago.
Yep.
I mean, this is 2018, and people are just now getting the opportunity to drive a vehicle. I don't know that I'm going to put that up there with the greatest human rights advocates out there. So, well, what's the long-term play on this, do you think?
If I had my wishes, it'd be us getting out of the UN and the UN getting out of the US. But I don't know what the end game is. The less we're involved with this, the better, because all we do is send them a ton of cash, and they funnel it out to other nations that hate us. So it's a pointless thing.
Well, and it's as I spoke about last week, I believe. I had a friend that was in the Peace Corps, and he ended up, after the Peace Corps, because he was going to go into medical school, he ended up signing on with an NGO that was sponsored by the UN. But after, he and I have had countless discussions about the UN and things like that, and they do some things that are very good. But he was in Kenya, and one of the big things was that, and I don't remember if I talked about this last ep or not. Did I?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
You touched on it a little bit.
Anyway, just how it's a double-edged sword. We send money, it's all for corruption. It goes in the pockets of a politician, and maybe a small amount of it gets down to the citizens. So we pull it away, and then now we look like the bad guys, which is exactly, we're playing into what their plan is.
Yep.
If they can put us through the ringer in the media, then they know that we're going to respond to that and try to bring more money to the table. So that's no good. But I think that, I don't know about exiting the UN completely. I'm not well versed enough in that to make a comment on that. I do know that there are bads and there are goods to what they do. So, well, as we continue on, the financial markets are suffering. In fact, we had a pretty monster drop today. No, not monster, but we had a drop today in the Dow, and GE is going to delist.
Yeah,
that is crazy.
Yeah, one of the original components of the Dow.
One of the original 30?
30, yep. They're getting kicked off.
That is crazy. Tell us more about that, Wes.
Well, that actually just rolled off.
No, not about
wire.
the GE.
Okay, I said,
here, let me preface
what
what the whole article was, because I squirreled on that. The financial markets are turning down not because of some financial pressure or bad economy. It's because the World Cup, which the United States is not in, and that is so batshit crazy. So, sorry, go ahead.
So the interesting analysis that's been done on this is that during a World Cup tournament, stock markets, on average, if you take the world as a whole, the markets dip in volume by 30% during game action. 30%. That's because, as you know, it's the biggest sport in the world, and everybody goes nuts for it. So instead of buying and selling stocks, they want to watch the game instead. So, and to take that further, when there's a specific country's team that is playing, the trading volume drops 55%. If that, so let's say like England's team is playing, then the FTSE market in England is going to go down 55%. So, and then they said the two biggest, and it's not a surprise because they're the biggest fanatical soccer countries there are, pretty much, Brazil and Argentina. When Brazil and Argentina's teams are playing, their respective stock markets dip nearly 80% in volume.
Are you kidding?
So they basically just shut it down and watch soccer.
And now, do they make up volume in trades after the game's over?
It didn't reference that. It just talked about while there's games going on, the volume craters.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That is pretty crazy. I mean, I know how insane this is because when we were over at Matt's, they were talking about the games going on then, and then he actually opened up early on Sunday morning at 7 o'clock because there was a big match of some sort.
Because next door to Matt's is a German restaurant, and Germany was playing that morning, so they were doing it as kind of a conjunction kind of a deal.
Okay,
opening early for Germany's match, which they lost, by the way, I believe.
I know, and that's basically like who beat them? Mexico, right? I believe it.
I don't know.
It wasn't Mexico.
I don't know, but yeah, somebody that shouldn't have beat them.
It was somebody that should have beat the Germans. You can see how big of a fan we are of soccer. I actually enjoy it, but without the U.S. in there, I just cannot believe. I can't wrap my head around the fact that we have a nation of 350 some million people, and we can't find how many people are on a soccer team. 87.
But you figure that it's like the seventh most popular sport in the U.S. and then they're like,
yeah, but it's coming up.
Oh, I know, but I'm saying versus other countries, that's all they have. So I mean they're 100% all soccer in some of these countries. So it's understandable why we may not necessarily make it in there. At least to me it is.
Yeah.
Given the talent pool being spread out between baseball, basketball, football, all the other big stuff.
And so I think to some degree also, and we've seen this increase exponentially even since I was a kid, and I'm sure you'll agree with this. It's that we have this proliferation of the belief by parents that kids need to be, they're going to go pro in 3 sports. They start them out in 4 years old, 5 years old in youth soccer, youth ballet, karate, fencing, basket weaving, football, baseball, basketball, wrestling, jiu-jitsu. I mean, the kids got to be, they're programmed. From the time they wake up in the morning till the time they go to bed, mom and dad tell them what to do the entire time. Long story short, though, is that we are seeing the talent pool reduced because people aren't able to hone their skills to the degree that they need to operate on the world platform. And I think that in other nations where there is no football, especially football, because it's such an incredibly expensive sport to play, whether it's from a pads or the actual venue, with the goalposts and all that kind of stuff, which I guess you need in soccer as well. But it's just a different animal. But as we see these kids that are not great at just one sport, and you'll see it a little bit when they get older, where a coach will try to tell them, no, you need to play this sport and this sport only. And unfortunately, soccer is probably not that sport. But we've also seen soccer gain a tremendous amount of growth. So we'll get off soccer because I'm sure that's not why anyone tuned in or is watching. Oh, gotta say hi to Tia.
All right.
Mom. Hi, Mom. And Stephanie. Hi, how are you guys? We'll probably cut down a little bit on the shout-outs now just so it doesn't screw with my brain and me trying to multitask, and we know how well that doesn't work. Number 3 here, we've got a drone. I bet you it was a drone made here in Southwest Washington, or
that's right. I forgot about that. Yeah.
It struck and killed a Taliban leader in Pakistan. Tell us some more about that.
This was the top guy of the Pakistani faction of the Taliban, and I know you're going to laugh when I say the name. So get your don't drink yet. Don't drink yet.
I'm not going to do it.
Mullah Fazullah, and I'm not joking. That's his name. That was his name because he's no longer with us.
From Montana?
I have no idea. He was killed by a drone on the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. And like I said, he was the leader of the Pakistani faction of the Taliban. And his big infamy came with the school attack in Peshawar province, where 148 school children were killed back in 2014. He was the mastermind behind that attack.
Really?
He coordinated that was his thing, along with plenty of other attacks along the way. But that was the big one, and so now he's no longer here. So that's a good thing.
That's a good thing. I didn't mean to laugh at somebody dying. I'm not trying to make light of that at all. So I want to make sure I do say that, but it is kind of a funny name. But no, that's that's what these drones are for, and that's why we don't put our people in harm's way to take out people that should be in harm's way, and they put many other people in harm's way. So, and I know that actually there's going to be more drone work done with the Coast Guard. They just signed a big contract with In Situ over here in Bingen, Washington, which is an hour east of us.
Yeah.
So we're going to start seeing more of that. They'll be integrating that for drug control and that kind of stuff out there. So, well, this one, number 4 here, it's right up my alley as we talk about Las Vegas having the most overvalued real estate. Now, it's not to say that it's the most expensive real estate, just that it's the most overvalued, and therefore stay the hell away from buying anything in Las Vegas. Am I right, Wes?
Yep. So this new analyst report that came down is saying that real estate on average there is overvalued by 24%.
24, huh?
That's a pretty big number.
Yeah, that is a big number.
And then, of course, this now brings fear of another housing bubble getting ready to burst. And obviously, Vegas suffered through a really painful one, along with obviously a lot of the other country. But Vegas got hammered with it back in the mid-2000s. And then the other thing that they noted is that the median price in Vegas, right when the bubble burst back in 2006, the median price was $315,000 for a house, and it's almost back up there again. They're creeping up on $315,000 again. So they're saying now, with this being overvalued like that, is it going to get ready to blow again? So
well, and we've talked about that ad nauseum, and the irony of that Clark County and this Clark County, actually our Clark County being more valuable than Las Vegas, is pretty odd. But considering all of the people they have, although they are a smaller market than we are here in Clark County, well, no, I think they're probably bigger. Yeah, because I can't include Portland in that, but. The 24% number is a big number, but they kind of screwed themselves back when they approved all of these condominiums and everything. I mean, it was the Wild West. It was kind of like Oprah giving cars away. You want a permit, you want a permit, you want a permit, and just build. And then, I mean, I know I'm a poker fanatic, and I know that there were some big time poker guys that took a bath because they invested in some of these big projects back then and lost all their money. So we'll see. I gotta think that yes, it's going to go down, but we would hope at some point somebody would get smart enough to maybe stop allowing them to continue to glut the market with all these houses. But to give you an idea, here in Clark County, I don't have the number straight off the top of my head, but I know our median price is 340 to 350. And back in the downturn, the highest that I remember seeing in 2008, I believe, was 218,000 was our median. Or no, 218, 258,000 was our median back then, and we blew past that a few years ago, and we're well above 3. But it's going to come down with all the houses that we have coming online and interest rates going up and things like that. It's, what goes up must come down. So this is the scariest of all the stories we have so far. Bird flu, everyone. Go get your, hide your parents, hide your kids, anyway, you get your mask, because the bird flu's new strain is going to wipe us all out. Am I right?
Yeah, so this new strain is called H7N9.
Niner,
that's right. And it's spreading like wildfire over in China. There have been 600 fatalities so far due to this new strain of bird flu. And the scary thing is that the mortality rate is 35%. So if you come down with this, you got a 1 in 3 chance of dying. So that's pretty heavy duty.
Okay, now you caught my attention.
Yeah, so that's a heavy duty mortality rate. And currently you can only contract it by touching infected poultry. So if you're handling like raw chicken, or you're obviously not being sanitary and washing your hands afterwards, that's how you contract it. However, the CDC experts say that it's only 2 genetic mutations away, and I don't know what it takes to mutate, but they make it sound like it's not that much. 2 genetic mutations away from being able to be passed person to person, to where you don't have to touch an infected fowl, an infected chicken or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's going to get worse before it gets better unless they get a handle on this thing. So
did they give us an idea of the time frame for something like that?
No, it just said. I'm sorry. It's three genetic mutations away, not 2. Three mutations away from being able to be transmitted person to person.
Wow, that is scary, and for all the jokes I make, it could be that next fall or winter we're going to be wearing masks and things like that.
Right, because it's only a matter of time before that stuff starts coming across the sea. Somebody taking a flight that's infected, or
that's all it takes.
That's all it takes now. Yeah.
In the old days, we didn't, whether it was the plague or polio or whatever, we didn't have airplanes to take us from one continent to another in 5 hours.
Yeah, it makes it spread a lot faster now with the modern transportation.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll hope that they can get that. I'm sure CDC is involved in the control of that greatly, and they can get a cap on that.
But yeah, the number that just really is striking and jumps out at me is that 35% mortality. So
I've never seen it. And did they give an indication, though, of what type, or not what type, but what age group that is? Because you can skew those numbers greatly by not by putting so much pressure on the elderly
or the young. Yeah, it didn't say, so I don't know if that's a general population average, because it didn't mention anything about demographics at all. So
well, that's we hope that they can get that squashed so we don't have to deal with it. So I am going to give a quick shout out to Jennifer McDaniel, and no, Mom, Mom, yes, that was an ice cream truck that you heard. So no, we did not get any ice cream. Well, we're going to go into our new old segment here. We've actually come up with I think this will probably be the last name we have to come up for a segment,
because everything's got a name now, I believe.
Yeah, we have a name for everything. We were calling it just a follow up on previous stories, but after many hours of discussion and taking it to focus groups, and Wes sending me a text asking if we could do this, I said, yeah, we're going to call this the flashback follow-up.
Hat tip to my dad. He came up with that.
Did he?
Yeah, he passed it along
to me.
You
took credit for that.
No, I didn't. I told you it was him.
Baloney. I don't remember it. David, he didn't do it. He tried to take it all for himself. Go ahead. We got the highest paid athletes.
Yeah, so we talked about this last time around, the top 10 highest paid athletes, according to Forbes magazine. Number 3 on that list was a soccer player. Here we go back to soccer again. No, Ronaldo.
No, Ronaldo.
Yep, number 3 was Ronaldo, making $108 million last year. Now, the follow-up to this story is he's got himself in a little hot water with some tax evasion.
Yes, he does.
So even though he made $108 million, he's having trouble figuring out how to pay taxes on that, evidently. So he has been sentenced to a 2-year suspended prison sentence, which is obviously a slap on the wrist. It means nothing. Fined 18.8 million euros.
Wow.
And this was because he failed to report 14.8 million euros in income. So basically they're penalizing him that much plus 4 million more.
Good.
So he's got to pay back $18.8 million, but
okay, you have that kind of money.
Yeah.
Why are you doing that?
Yeah.
It's like my kids when I tell them to take the garbage out, and they will wait on something, or they'll fill it up as much as possible, and then try to, get it together and drop half of it the entire way because they didn't want to actually work to do it. Well, if he would just work and pay his damn taxes, he wouldn't be in this. And if you're making that kind of money, what the hell is another $5 million to you when you made it? How much?
108.
108. $108 million. And those taxes are actually probably going to something good. I mean, that's a lot of money in that country, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So that's, I saw that the other day, and again, it goes back to professional athletes or anyone that makes high net worth individual that does stupid things, like all the way back to, what was it, Leon Lett, the Dallas Cowboys tackle, who was shipping tons of marijuana, I believe, something like that, and ended up, after he ran the wrong way with a touchdown.
Yep.
But any of these guys, why do they get involved? I understand it may be exciting or whatnot, but your freedom is worth a hell of a lot more than any type of excitement, I would think. I just don't understand it. But we're going to discuss a little bit more of the ongoing terrorism concerns in France and how that's playing out.
Yeah, this comes up in the news fairly often. There's always seems to be a terrorist incident of one sort or another in France. They're having a lot of problems with their net immigration in the country, basically taking in all sorts of refugees without vetting them, and it's been causing them a lot of problems. And like I said, we've seen numerous terrorist incidents over the last few years happen there. So now this is the follow-up on this, is France has gone to the step now of erecting a perimeter fence around the Eiffel Tower to keep it from becoming an easy target, basically. So they're spending $35 million on this perimeter fence.
$35 million in fence?
In fencing.
Is it electric?
I don't know. Maybe it's iron gates or something. Who knows? But the reason they're doing this, like we said, is because of the terrorism, and that number is pretty huge. In the last 3 years, they have had 240 people killed in France due to terrorism.
Man. Yeah, and then they've got to do something.
Right.
I mean, something has to be done. I don't know what. I mean, a fence seems kind of like a locked window to me, and that it's only as good enough to keep the really honest criminals.
I don't know if they're doing that because obviously the Eiffel Tower is the big landmark in France, so I don't know if they're doing that to prevent maybe a truck bomber from trying to drive in there up close and blow stuff up. Or I'm not sure what their ultimate goal is. I would be really interested to see what the specs are on a fence, because I don't know many fences that could stop, say, a fully loaded 100 and some thousand pound diesel truck filled to the max with C4 or something. I mean, if somebody wants to do it, or a drone flies, you can just fly it over the fence. Yeah, that could be the next shoe to drop is drone warfare. So yeah, it's I don't know. We'll see how well that lasts, but they've got to do something, and because those numbers are insane. So, well, back to our very favorite California discussion and how we're because if 50 states isn't great, 52's got to be the greatest. Sweet. Yeah, absolutely. You bet. So the update on this is something that Will had brought up, so I thought it was a good thing to update on, is you were questioning the chances of it actually passing. Now that it's going to make the ballot, the chances of it passing. And they did a survey. So for it to get on the ballot, it needed 600,000 signatures, which we talked about. There's a whole bunch of ways to fudge that. So it's a real many ways. It's a shaky way to get things done in the first place. But now they've gone around and done polling statewide to ask about the support for this Cal 3 initiative, and come to find out that the support is sitting at 17% right now. Wow. So it is way on down there. It's going to take a lot to get this thing to pass as it stands now. You really have to wonder how the hell they got all those signatures. That's kind of a little funny. Probably called Tim Eyman up here in Washington and asked him how he had so many signature drives that were fraudulent. They probably just hit the few little pockets and enclaves in California that are all for this and had everybody in that county sign this petition. That's how they got on the ballot. But statewide, it's looking at a 17% favorability rating right now, so not too good. I wonder what it is in L.A.
or in LA County, if they're looking at it, because it'd be interesting to see who is the most excited about it and who isn't. So we'll continue to I know we're going to continue to update that, because it's only going to get juicier. And even if it did pass on the ballot, I absolutely don't believe in I would put it at a 1 in 100 chance of it actually happening, only because they gave him an out, and they gave him the biggest out possible, which is 1 year later you have to vote on it again. And I mean, in my business in real estate, we always say time is of the essence. Don't give people an opportunity to change their mind or have an outside interest fiddle with their thought process or anything like that. We don't want that, so we make sure that we keep things going at a clip. And that year, even if it did pass in November, not a snowball's chance that they're going to be able to continue that.
Keep that momentum going.
Yeah, that momentum, because the other side, it's obviously riding that lightning really close to being able to even get on there. The money that they will pour into any type of anti-Cal 3 campaign, I have to think is going to be obnoxiously huge. I think it's going to be big. So I don't want to see it happen anyway, because I don't think that we need 2 or 4 more senators and all of the crap that's going to go along with it. I just can't see how it's going to work out well. So, it's about that time. It's about time for Hojo's Hot Take. Are you ready for Hojo's Hot Take, Wes?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hojo's Hot Take. Hold on, we got to do my really incredibly high tech editing thing here, so that I take a quick photo of it here. Okay, Hojo's Hot Take. 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Through the magic of video, anyone that was watching saw that we just went quiet for a little bit. So
it'll magically appear.
It was, it's magically delicious. So anyway, we're back, and it's trifecta time.
It is.
Number one here, though, there is so much stuff that has happened on this today, and I've been kind of out of the loop a little bit today, that I'm going to lean on you for the information, because even right before this you said that you were watching. So
and what Will is talking about is the Inspector General's report coming out regarding the FBI's handling of the Hillary Clinton email case dating back to prior to the election. So what I want to touch on is what first came out in his initial report that was released several days ago. And then for those of you watching the news, you've seen in the last couple of days that Horowitz, the Inspector General for the Department of Justice, has been on Capitol Hill testifying, basically getting into further detail about what he has found out. And so I'm going to save that stuff for our next podcast in a couple of days, because I need time to get through all this and wrap my head around all the stuff that's come out, because there's been some pretty incredible stuff. So we'll hit on that the next podcast. But for now, I'll go through the nuts and bolts of what was released on the kind of 30,000-foot view of his report that came out several days ago. So number one is that James Comey, the former FBI director who was in charge at the time of the election, used a personal email address for his FBI business. He had a Gmail account. So the ironic thing there is that he was supposed to be investigating Hillary for using a personal email account illegally, and he was doing the same thing. So that's all sorts of good stuff right there. Another thing that was discovered was that Obama was using an alias to communicate with Hillary on her private server. So he had some, fake email screen name kind of thing to shoot her emails back and forth on her private Clinton email account.
So he was part of the conspiracy.
And which also unwraps a whole other ugly thing, is that when this story first broke, a couple years ago, when this stuff was first coming down, Obama claimed innocence and said he had no idea that she was using a private server. But her email address ended with the suffix of clintonemail.com. So if you're a government official sending something to a .com address, there's the first red flag that it's not a government address.
Yeah, if it doesn't say .gov.
Yeah, and the fact that you named it clintonemail.com, that's kind of a dead giveaway that it's something personal. Obama tried to lie his way out of that one, and he got caught telling a lie, it looks like.
Is Wile E. Coyote running this?
Yeah.
Because it really sounds like there's some kind of Acme issue with this.
Yep.
No, don't mind the Clinton email. That has nothing to do with anyone. BS. Anyway, go ahead.
And another just stunning thing that came out in Horowitz's report was that during their investigation of Hillary Clinton, that the FBI made no effort to confiscate electronic devices of her inner circle. So like all of her assistants and aides around her, they didn't bother confiscating their stuff to go through to see if it may have extra stuff on there, with the exception of Huma Abedin's laptop, and that came a little later on because her husband got involved in some stuff. But for the most part, Hillary's inner circle never had their devices searched. And when Inspector General Horowitz asked, we investigated and asked, well, why didn't you guys check out these other devices for these assistants? Their answer is stunning. Their answer was the culture of mishandling classified information was so pervasive that it made the quantity of evidence too vast. So basically, like, everybody's corrupt, we don't know where to start, so we're just not going to do it.
No, basically it's, these are our friends, so we've got a really convenient excuse not to investigate them. John Gotti, where are you? We've got 3 times as much information. We'll make sure we see each page of it.
But yeah, so that's a stunning admission to say that they mishandled so much classified information that it made the evidence too vast. So therefore, we can't even process this, so we're not going to even try, kind of thing. So.
Wow! I can't even begin to make a comment on that.
Yeah. Another thing that came out, and we will see the other shoe drop on this part of it when we talk in a couple of days with what's come out in Capitol Hill testimony in the last couple of days, is that Horowitz did recommend 5 additional FBI agents for further investigation, possible criminal charges. And 2 of those agents that were supposed to be investigating Hillary Clinton's supposed illegal use of this email account were actually kind of conspiring behind the scenes to try to figure out how to keep Trump from attaining the presidency.
Not kind of.
Yeah, they were full blown. And again, there's more details on that came out today that we'll touch on next podcast. So stay tuned for that. Another issue the Inspector General found was that Comey drafted an exoneration statement for Hillary months before the investigation was finalized. So he was already putting pen to paper of how he was going to say that she was innocent and did nothing wrong before they'd even finished the investigation.
And we can't forget about the fact that Comey is a Republican.
Yeah.
And he's still doing this. Why? What is his motivation other than his hatred for Trump? But this started before the election was ever over.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, from reading all the things that I read last week when it came out, going back all the way to this discussion between Struck.
It's pronounced Struck, but it looks funny. Yes.
Okay, so Struck and I don't know who the other agent is, but
Lisa Page.
Lisa Page, yeah,
the attorney liaison of the FBI.
But weren't they romantically involved?
Yes, they were.
So
yes, they were.
That screws everything up. But the messages that they released that went along with that, and he flat out said that he would find a contingency plan even if he did get nominated to somehow stop this. But from all of these agents that they had in this article, it was incredible. Like, they were freaking out that President Trump was going to get nominated when the election was happening. But before that, it was basically like we've seen with the other people in politics, or we watched the meltdowns on shows. No one believed he had a snowball's chance in hell.
Right.
And it was basically predetermined by everyone that was against him that there's no way he's going to win. And I'm pretty sure that's probably what made him win, was them being so out of touch with the people, because
they mailed it in.
Yeah, they mailed it in because they believed that, we can just go on TV and talk a little bit and not actually look at what these people are doing in their homes, that they don't know, or they can't really understand what it's like to be a famous celebrity or anything like that, but they can talk and understand when somebody says, hey, I'm going to bring jobs back, I'm going to make America great again. He had the perfect slogan, and it was the perfect storm, because like you said, if we would have had Joe Biden in there, I'd imagine JB would be up at the post right now and getting back from meeting Kim last week.
Yep.
That's
if that would have happened, but yeah.
Well, who knows? I mean, and we're going to look at that, and we both agree that was a good thing, but this is going to be bad, and it's a terrible look for the number one the #1 law enforcement agency in the United States.
Yep. And one last thing that came off of his report, and again today they had further details, which is just stunning. And we talked about that before we went on air, so I'll give you a little tidbit of that. The initial information that came out in his report was that FBI agents leaked info to the press in exchange for kickbacks. So they'd leak stuff to the news media, and in exchange for golf outings and trips and dinners and cocktail parties. So that was just the, like I said, the 30,000 foot view in the first report. Now, to give you one little tidbit from the testimony that happened today, is that it came out that over 300 illegal gifts were accepted by more than 50 FBI agents.
This is going to be what sinks the ship.
So now we have numbers behind this headline that there was at least 300 instances of free golf outings, dinners, cocktail parties in exchange for info, and that more than 50 FBI agents took part in this.
And who was giving them the free stuff?
The big networks like NBC, all the big boys. So that if you feed us information, we'll get you a golf trip. We'll send you on a vacation.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're basically back to the radio payola days of pay to play.
Exactly right.
And that makes me feel really good that our law enforcement agencies can be purchased with golf outings.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. At the highest level. That they were so sure that they couldn't even bring charges against Clinton because they didn't think that there was any prosecutor that would bring charges. But again, like we discussed last week, not law enforcement's job to do that. It's their job to collect facts and go on golf trips and get drunk, and I'm sure all kinds of other crazy things.
And Trey Gowdy echoed our statement perfectly today, saying that it's not the FBI's job to be the judge and the jury.
Nope.
That's not their place. Yet Comey tried to make it his place by saying he wouldn't recommend, that no reasonable prosecutor would recommend Hillary for any charges. So that's way out of line with that. And obviously that was the least of his problems now that we see all this laundry list of garbage that's coming out in these reports. So.
I wonder what not retribution, but what could happen to him. I mean, I wonder if there's any type of criminal...
There is, and that's one that we'll get into on next podcast, something that Inspector General Horowitz is now opening a new investigation into Comey for leaking his personal memos to a buddy who in turn leaked that to the media. That was the big story. It's been going on for a while, and it's kind of gotten quieted down, but now Horowitz is going to open an investigation into that. And the reason for that, and we'll talk about this again on Thursday, reason for that is... it was 16 pages of memos that he gave to his buddy, who then I think was New York Times or Wall Street Journal that he forwarded it to. I can't remember. But then the Senate subpoenaed those 16 pages for review. Mm-hmm. And when they came in, almost half of the 16 pages were redacted, which means there was a whole ton of sensitive info in there that he gave to his buddy. So that's some big problems.
And that's a huge problem. I cannot get over how incredibly stupid these smart people are.
Yep.
Why in the hell would you use a Gmail address? You've got the money, you've got the resources, you've got the United States government behind you. You can find a way to, I don't know, maybe you can ask Clinton about this.
I'll say at least Hillary,
personal server.
Hillary had her own server, her ClintonEmail.com personal server versus a commercial Gmail account.
Yeah, and he could have gone the Elon Musk route for naming the email address, not James Comey's email at gmail.com. I can't get over that. You have all of these things at your fingertips, all these tools, all these crazy technological advances that the FBI has, but they still can't figure out not to use Gmail. You can't fix stupid.
So we'll have a whole big segment again next podcast with the details that have been coming out.
Next podcast may be not a trifecta, but just a duecta. I don't know what the hell that would be.
A one-ecta?
Yeah, a double up, something like that. Because this one's going to be a big one. We'll see how that plays out. But it's because this is going to give us content for frickin' months, if not years.
Yep.
So, well, next segment or next part of the trifecta, numero dos. Seattle homelessness, again, we're going to talk about it and what it's costing city businesses up there.
So this obviously has been in the news recently with the whole head tax thing and the head tax that was passed under the guise of helping the homeless and giving them more access to services. They faced huge backlash for that, primarily from Amazon and Starbucks. That's now been repealed. But the underlying issue underneath all this is that they're having a huge homeless crisis, and not just necessarily just homelessness in general, but the violence that comes along with it, violence and drug abuse, and the fact that now that innocent people are being attacked by homeless. Most recently, a big recent example was a couple of tourists right in the shadow of the Space Needle, going to visit the Space Needle, got choked, got accosted, and they were physically choked by a homeless person. And they have these huge tent cities now, huge homeless camps, and somebody took a picture and posted it online. They've got beer kegs.
Are you kidding me?
In the homeless camp, there's a beer keg sitting there by one of the tents.
Now, do we know that it's tapped and it has beer in it?
Yeah, it may be consumed already, but...
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean, 'cause
it's
I
just,
can see somebody ditching a keg.
right. But so now there's a lot of mom and pop businesses that have spoken out against this, saying that, you know, if this, it's killing their business, because now tourism is starting to be affected a little bit because nobody wants to go downtown and get mugged. So there's a lot of small businesses that are saying, you know, if things don't shape up, we're going to have to shut down or leave or whatever. Yeah, because we can't handle this. And just the city in general, the lack or the drop in tourism, that obviously could cost them a lot of dollars in revenue. So
and sales tax, number one, right there.
Yeah, so this is something that they clearly need to get a handle on sooner rather than later, because they're going to start to see the bottom line getting hit with the lack of tourism. Yeah,
and the big problem is that the leaders there aren't willing to look at this from an actual fiscal responsible type place.
Right.
They want to look at it from the everything's going to be, you know, perfect. And you can't have that. You have an unwilling population, well, not all of them, but a vast majority that is unwilling or doesn't just flat out want to get better or make their situation better. So they continue doing what they do, regardless of how much money they throw at the problem.
Right.
We've proven, or we've talked about in the past, how many opportunities there are for people. In fact, I had a good news story on somebody a couple weeks ago. But there's plenty of money to help the crisis. It's how the money's being spent, or actually misappropriated. Basically, they're not spending it in the ways that would probably help the overall situation, but they look really good in print and online.
Yep.
And for voting purposes down the road. But they're not going to be there to be voted on if people are getting hurt, if their businesses are looking to move, because it only takes a few of those, and obviously the big elephant in the room is Amazon and how that's going to impact them. They've proven that they're not going to put up with this crap any longer.
Right.
And if enough of the people that can make a difference have, you know, the intestinal fortitude to step up, stand up to these what seems like clown show of a city council from the video that we watched last week.
Right.
You know, no one's going to be there on the council any longer, because they will be voted off. Or hell, they may be even kicked off. Who knows how that's going to work? So, well, I don't know what the perfect answer for that is, but I definitely know that it's not just tax the hell out of people and continue to play the same movie over and over again, and it's basically turning into Groundhog's Day up there. Number 3, evidently the Illinois taxpayers are quite upset that they... Why would they be upset about this? They're on the hook for $200 million for the new Obama Presidential Center.
Yeah, so this is what usually most presidents, after they leave office in their hometown, they have a library/museum built and dedicated to their tenure in office. So Chicago is doing this for Obama, and Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who you may remember was Obama's chief of staff at one point, he is now the current mayor of Chicago. And he came out against all these critics and said, "Oh, this is going to be money well spent. Don't you fear." So
I'm Rahm.
Yeah, exactly.
In Rahm we trust.
So of course, all the state taxpayers of Illinois are upset because this $200 million is coming from the public, and they see that, you know, Chicago is basically what the biggest crime issue in the country in terms of murders and gun deaths there.
Maybe Detroit's up there with them.
Yeah, they've got so many other issues that, you know, they're not addressing. They're doing this instead. They were also angered, locals were also angered that they're doing this on a city park. So they're basically one of the city parks, they're wiping out the park and building this museum there instead.
So they're taking from the public in more ways than one.
Yeah, there you go.
Awesome.
Yep. And not only did they wipe out this park to put this museum/library/presidential center, reports are that the plans for this thing, it's a 12-story building.
12 story. What the hell?
He was in office for 8 years, so that's more than one story for each year of his presidency. So yeah, why do you need a 12-story building?
Do we have any idea of what the other presidential libraries look like? How tall they are?
I've only been to one, which is the Reagan Library, and that's one story. It's on a couple different levels, but for the most part, it's basically a single story.
I've never been to one. I would really like to go to one.
Yeah.
Again, it doesn't matter politics. It's still a presidential library.
It's very cool.
But I can't see that $200 million couldn't be privately financed by someone if we can raise all these funds for all this other crazy stuff. I'm sure there's plenty of deep pockets in the liberal land that would love to pay for it.
And to their not credit, but to in their defense, somewhat, I think some of this is also being used as a community center. Mm-hmm. So that's
like
probably
YMCA
where,
type thing?
Right? So that's probably where the whole 12 stories comes from. Is maybe the ground floor is going to be like the Y and other stuff like that. But still, it seems a little outlandish to build a 12-story. But wipe out a park in the city, build a 12-story building as a presidential center.
Yeah, I have to say I wasn't aware of this, so I don't have a lot of backstory and any context to place upon it. But it goes back to sports teams and things like that, hijacking citizens' cash so that they can pay for things that are wants, not needs. We don't need a presidential library. We want one. But we need police and fire personnel to protect the public, and we could probably use, I don't know, maybe 5 YMCAs around the city rather than one.
Right.
And I mean, I could go on with different examples of ways that the money could be put to better. I'm sure there's a pothole or 800,000 in Chicago, and they have to pay for coloring the river.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's got to run at least $400 to $500. So yeah, they're saving up money. So we'll be following that one up in the old. What's our name there? Our name
flashback
follow up. We'll keep that. But anytime Rahm Emanuel, everyone needs to remember, if you've ever watched the show Entourage, Ari in Entourage is actually Ari Emanuel, who is Rahm Emanuel's brother. So that gives you a little bit of an idea of what, and that was Jeremy Piven's character there was not far from the truth by everything I understand. So keep that in mind when you're looking at this. This is one buddy giving another buddy a $200 million handshake. Not a good look.
Yeah.
So now it's time for that holy shit fact of the day. This is a scary one, and it's kind of nasty. I haven't watched the video.
I haven't. I just read the story.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I didn't see it.
A woman was swallowed whole by a python. Yuck.
This was in Indonesia. Is that correct? Am I remember that correctly?
I thought
my
it was
show note
India.
for this is on the phone right now. So,
oh yeah, the phone that you're watching.
Anyway, so what it is a lady went out to, and I want to say it's Indonesia. I could be wrong, but somewhere.
I thought maybe India, somewhere around there.
Asia area in general. Lady went out.
Down.
The continent. Lady went out to go work in her garden, and then went missing. And so neighbors.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
Neighbors searched for her, and they found this bloated python. I think they said it was a 24-foot long python.
Well, and it had undone its belt.
Yeah, exactly. So they said they found the lady's shoes and some gardening tools laying on the ground, but there was no sign of her. And they found this massive swollen up python in the bushes nearby. So they killed the python, sliced the python open, boop, there she was.
Wow. How long?
They swallowed her whole.
How long? It had to have taken hours.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how long she had been, what the time frame they thought had elapsed, but that's just, ugh.
I have a little bit of experience with pythons, nothing obviously to this degree, but many years ago when I used to live with my buddy Mike and Kelly, we had a ball python, not 24 feet long, probably closer to 24 inches long, but we would, because we were young and stupid, we would every week, and there was a movie called Road Trip, and they had, this is why we got the damn snake anyway, that was named, Mitch was his name. And so we named the snake Mitch, Mike did. And so every Friday we'd go get a mouse and we'd drop it in there, and then because I'm a degenerate, we would bet on how long it would take for that python to strike and kill it. Well, at the very beginning, it was pretty excited. And to watch those things, I mean, it's magnificent to watch a killing machine like that. That mouse would drop and it would sniff around a little bit, and the snake would be like looking around, looking, doing a thing with his tongue, and then wham, snap its neck, crunch it up, and it would probably take that python under 5 minutes, I think, to kill it or to get it ingested. So, but something that big, and I've got to think it's, I mean, hell, at least 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, I would think
if not an hour.
Not a quick process. But
no, not at all, because they usually have to, when they kill them, they wrap them up and they squeeze the every living tar out of them, but then they got to figure out which way they're going to take them. They always usually want the head, but sometimes they go backwards. So that's very sad and very unfortunate that kind of stuff happens. But it's a kind of like living in, I would think, the southwest of the United States, and tarantulas and things like that.
Scorpions.
Scorpions. It goes with the geographic area you live in.
Right.
So with that, it's the crunch time. You ready? You want to jump off, or you want me to?
Yeah, I'll take it.
Take it away.
I just want to touch again on our favorite word, that is tariffs.
Tariffs. Big tariffs.
So, as we all know, we've launched a bunch of tariffs, retaliatory tariffs against other nations. So this one I want to focus on in particular. This spat that's going on now is between us and China, and how ridiculous it's getting. So yeah. So it's started off by Trump tariffing Chinese goods coming in. China retaliated by slapping tariffs on some of our stuff, including apples from Washington State. So this is going to hit us close to home. And I'm reading reports that say that they're going to have to I guess China is a huge importer of Washington State apples.
In fact, they wrote a letter on their behalf.
And so this is going to cause employment issues with the apple growers. And so now Trump has announced a new retaliatory tariff to retaliate on China.
He's triple stamping and double stamping.
Exactly. So this is like double secret probation. So now we're going to do $200 billion in additional tariffs on China. So this is just a back and forth. When is it going to end?
When we hit $1 trillion.
And then meanwhile, what kind of damage is it doing down the line, down to the public, to us?
Yeah, and how long does it take for that to truly trickle down?
Right.
Is it going to be here before 2020, or is it going to be here after 2020, or 2019, late 2019? But it's, I read the thing about the Washington apple growers. They banded together and wrote a big article on that, and how it's going to really decimate their industry, because they don't want just one market to sell to, which is the United States. They want all of the markets, and by continually raising the prices on the apples so that people in, say, Taiwan, they can't buy our apples, then what happens? Our apple growers, they can't continue to sell over there, then the prices drop and they go out of business, and now Washington is suffering greatly because we rely on that. It's a huge profit crop for us here. So it's and I don't think it's going to stop.
No,
I think because he always has to have the last word.
Yep.
Last week, probably the most defining moment in his presidency, which was to hook up with Kim over in Singapore, and hopefully we're going to actually see something from that. But if on the flip side, for all the greatness that is, the American people are being affected by this. And when now it's a giant pissing match. We give them $3 billion, or they take $3 billion, we do, and I just can't see them this pissing match stopping until we just finally say, okay, we're going to take them all off the board. Now we're going to go back to where we were 6 months ago, or a year ago, or whatever it was. So that's another one that we're going to be watching for very much so. Well, my crunch time is not nearly as exciting as that. Mine is a little bit of a life hack that I happened upon the other day as I was fiddling around with my iPhone. This is only for iPhone users, so anyone that isn't an iPhone user, I apologize that I'm not speaking to you. But if you're like me, and for the camera I'll show them, I've got 7 fingers. I don't have all 10. So texting sometimes is a pain in the neck. I text with one hand. I discovered that when you have your text messages open, on the bottom left is the smiley face thing. If you swipe up on that, it brings you up a little bit of a menu, and it says left, right, or custom, I think. I can't remember. If you press right, it shifts the entire keyboard over to the right. So then you can really text with one hand.
Kind of smushes it up a little smaller.
It does smush it up smaller. And so I'll take a screenshot and put it up with the post tomorrow. But yeah, it moves it over maybe a half an inch or something. But that half an inch makes the world of difference when you're trying to text with one hand like I do. Now, the one thing I will say is if you do need to switch over to two hands, it's kind of a pain in the neck, but there's a little marker there that if you just press that button, boom, full screen, and then you can go right back and turn it on later on. So that's my crunch time. Hopefully some people will learn something from that. I'm going to include one other little thing. Derek went on his first overnight camping trip for what do they call it?
Summer camp?
Summer camp, yeah. He got to go to, currently right now he's at the John Day River at the Hancock Field Station, and he is enjoying the heck out of himself, I'm sure. Sent him 5 days. Get this. I know I may be the world's worst dad and Kim may be the world's worst mom. No electronics.
Oh.
None. He is
Brutal.
completely untethered. Who knows what's going to happen? He may even survive. It's gonna. Whoa! You got a big bug. There you go.
There it is.
Oh, I wanted to slap. What? That would have been great TV.
It's
for
good
me
live
to
TV right now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow.
the
Thought I
cobra
felt
could have
something.
struck you. Anyway, Derek, I know you're having fun. When he comes back, when Kinetic Kids comes out next week, he's been writing notes. He took some paper and stuff for him so that he can relay some of that fun stuff he had. And the craziest thing, this is a deal through OMSI and somebody else. Anyway, it's just, and there's a limited amount of kids. It's awesome. So glad to see a kid get out into the woods, get away from the electronics, have fun with the other kids, and just enjoy what God gave us, which is this beautiful country.
Yeah.
With that, this has been Kinetic Chaos Podcast number 27. I want to thank everyone that is watching us live on Facebook Live. Got to give a shout out to my mother-in-law, Sue. How we doing, Mom? Hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week. We will drop, as usual, on Friday for the next episode, number 28. Today's episode, 27, will drop tomorrow morning, which, if you're listening to this, is today. So
Something like that.
Yeah, something like carry the two. Anyway, you got anything else for us?
No, we'll see you back in a couple days. We've got a short turn with a whole bunch of info coming down the pipe here.
It's going to be a hot one.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. As everyone on Facebook Live, they're going to get to watch a little bit extra as we shut everything down. But on the podcast, we thank you so much. We will see you on Friday. We gone. Okay, kids, you're still watching on Facebook Live. Hey, thank you, Jennifer. We appreciate that. We're now it's time that Wes and I break everything down. But if you guys are still watching and have any questions for us, fire them away at us right now, and we will we'll try to answer them as we're breaking everything down here. Kind of give you a little insight into what we do now. I actually take the episode that we just recorded, and I immediately take the two tracks that we record on. Wes's track, my track. This is looking into the behind the curtain here, but this was 27, right?
Yeah, 27.
So I take it and I flip it immediately over to MP3 and I export it so that I save it, because I have lost broadcasts in the past, and that's never a good thing, is it?
No.
Never.
Bad news.
Badness.
Almost as bad as having the computer crash on us that one time halfway through the pod, or like a third of the way to the
17
pod.
minutes in.
Yeah.
And before we even started today, see this really nice microphone right here? I dropped it on the concrete. And Wes, he was not speaking English to me. He's like,
I was drinking water as it was rolling off the table. I'm trying not to spew water while I'm mourning.
habit. And then I hear clonk. Oh, that's probably why he was trying to get a hold of me.
It sounded like Aunt Bunny going down the staircase.
Woo! Ah! Somebody hoo-hoo!
You want to unplug me?
Yep.
Yeah.
There we go.
All right.
We've got some, for those that are still watching, if I'm still in the shot here, we do have, I'm not going to announce it yet, but we've got some new interviews coming up. We do have Larry booked for what day?
July 10th.
July 10th. So we have Larry Hoff. He's going to be coming up. Larry, if you get to watch this, how are you? Hope you're doing great. He's going to join us. We have some other political luminaries that will be joining us in July, August.
July, August-ish, since we're getting out of June here shortly.
Yep. Which is really hard to believe.
Yeah,
I believe we've got summer solstice coming up.
Thursday, day after tomorrow.
That's
fun
that's
fact.
crazy, yeah.
I think it's like at 3 or 4 in the morning or something.
It's something really, really crazy.
Obnoxious.
Yeah.
You'll be awake. You're an early bird.
Yeah. Not because I want to be.
All right.
And if you're watching anything like that, you guys ever want to fire us questions, go to our website, kineticchaos.com. Fire questions at us. We'll be happy to answer them on the podcast. I think we're going to probably look at down the road having an actual kind of question and answer session maybe in the podcast. So if within the first 15 minutes of the podcast opening, you guys shoot us a message, then we'll look at it and we'll try to answer it while we're in the middle of recording so that we can get it on there. We think that that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
We can have a little bit of a interaction while we're recording, because this is a kick in the pants and we're here hopefully to have fun with you guys as well. So I'm taking my money back because I actually didn't do it.
You're right. You didn't do it.
I think I made it. That would be our very first
stunning.
Yeah.
That's a stunner.
Is it Andy or Cassie that watches?
It's probably gonna be Andy.
Andy,
Hey, Andy.
how are you? Hope you're doing well. I think by our little discussion we had the other day, you like barbecue. Am I right?
Yeah.
Does Andy like barbecue?
Yep.
Well,
Have a little cook-off showdown.
yeah, I'm really thinking that come around the time that we do the dinner in white with the Hojo.
It's Labor Day-ish.
No, the weekend after.
After?
That. Yeah. I think we may have to.
Hopefully the weather holds out for us.
Oh, it always does.
Yeah. We had an early summer though, so maybe the whole thing
That's
is
true.
getting
You use 2 hands
shipped
on
in
that.
this. I got 2 hands. I do. Uh-oh. What'd you do? There we go.
There, it just does that.
Goodness.
Right.
What's
There we go.
going on here?
Thank
All right.
you. So yeah, we got some what do you call it? Interviews coming up. We do have our beach broadcast coming up in August.
That's right.
That is going to be an absolute kick in the pants. So let me see if
Is there a food review we can do in Long Beach?
Adam Lazara. Wow, Adam, what's happening? But yes, there is a taco place there called La Jalapena or something with jalapenos. Awesome.
All right.
We went there last time, actually, is kind of trying to figure out if it would be something worthwhile. And yeah, awesome place. We are going to do a food review from there because it's in town and it's actually it's across the street from Marsh's.
Okay.
So it's,
wow, there you go.
We're gonna have to hit that up for sure.
I'm all in.
Well, that's about done. I think we're about ready to sign off.
All right, I think so.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be doing this from now on.
I think so. That's
every
the way to
episode.
do it. Yep.
I hope you guys really enjoyed it. We really enjoyed it. And we just want to see things grow and grow. And I'll probably, when Kinetic Kids, we do the next one there, we'll have that. And we've got all kinds of fun and exciting stuff coming up. So thank you very much for joining us. And we just appreciate your support and your awesomeness, untold amount. So thank you very much. Have a wonderful Tuesday.
Thanks, guys.
We go. Oh, Adam, bye.